The week 1 showdown between Auburn and Baylor could set the tone for the entire college football season.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome into this special crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Baylor. He is the Cam Stuart of Locked On Baylor. I'm Zach Blackerby, host of Locked On Auburn. And what a showdown do we have coming up to open the season. It moves to a Friday. Does that matter? The biggest concerns for Auburn and Baylor heading into this matchup. I want to pick your brain on the quarterback situation. But Cam, earlier this week, I did a show and I made the claim that Auburn heading to Baylor to open up the season is the most important game on Auburn's schedule, just because I think it sets the tone so much for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and like you see that September schedule, you kind of ease into the bad boys of the SEC after that Baylor matchup. For Baylor, it's really the opposite. Not that doesn't diminish this game; it's still pretty big. But right after Auburn, we've got college football playoff attendee SMU of the ACC.
They were there.
They were there. They didn't have to buy a ticket, but they probably should have had to have. Then 2 weeks after that, also in the college football playoff, Big 12 champions from last year, Arizona State. So this is a pretty big matchup for Baylor too. I would say it's probably the second most important matchup behind whomever they're facing in the Big 12 championship game. But it's always important, Zach, to get off on the right foot.
Yeah, well, in the Big 12, anybody can make the championship game. So
that's kind of true. I'm going to take that as a compliment. Yeah,
it's just wide open. It's perfect parity. That's off the Big 12 for building just a true arena of competition there. But Auburn's first 3 big games are all on the road. They go to Waco, obviously, in the season opener. And then for their 4th game, they go to Norman, as you guys know, Oklahoma, which now part of the SEC.
Dump, by the way.
Yeah, not a fan?
Yeah, I went a couple years ago. I mean, look, it's got the mystique. It's one of those where if like you're a fan for a long time, it's got the mystique and everything, but you're still urinating in troughs. So,
okay. Some people may like that. I don't know. The Auburn fans go to Norman. A lot of Auburn fans will go to Norman for the first time. And then they go to Texas A&M the following week. And I've said if Auburn can go 2-3 in those games, and then, whatever happens that following week against Georgia, the rest of the schedule for the Tigers is pretty manageable. And so it's like, if you can go 2-1, win 2 out of those 3 games that you start on the road, I think Baylor's the most gettable of the 3. You can say I'm wrong if you want. I'd love to have that conversation. But if you do drop that at Waco, I just think the state of the Auburn fan base, like there's going to be a lot of panic if they go to Waco and lose on a Friday night.
Yeah, and I will say I think Baylor's a stronger team than Oklahoma, but Oklahoma's Oklahoma. I'm not going to sit here and say, you just walk in there and get a victory, not like Baylor did their last time. They did that. But yeah, I think this and with week 1, it throws a lot into flux, and double throwing things into flux. It's now a Friday night, which you have mentioned. And no fan base likes playing on non-Saturdays. I'm convinced of it. Nobody likes it, even if it's week 1, even if it's not a short week at all. But what I love about that is it's going to have the eyes of the nation on it on that Friday night. Like it is going to be the football game of that night and to kick off that weekend. I'm not going to sit here, as much as my fans might not like this, I'm not going to sit here and say you're about to go into a cauldron at McLean Stadium. It's not like going to Death Valley on a Saturday night. It's going to be packed. It's going to have a great environment for Baylor standards, especially being on a Friday night. But lest we forget, these Bears bring back a lot, Zach, and they're going to be pretty hyped up for this one too.
Yeah, Baylor is a better team than I realized, for sure. And the more I look at them and the more I listen to Locked On Baylor, the more my eyes are opened, and really more of my level of concern grows about this game. Because I think just on paper, when you're thinking about this game, maybe when things started trending down for Auburn last year, and it's like, all right, well, what's next year look like? That one's quickly chalked up as a win. But now as you kind of like look at the matchup, it's like, no, Auburn's going to have their hands full. We'll talk more about the quarterback situation in a second, because I do want to pick your brain on that. But to me, like I like what you said about it being on Friday, August 29th, and the eyes of the college football world watching this. because both of these teams are getting similar level praise as all of these national talking heads are putting out these way too early top 25s. Auburn's been in every single one that I've seen, which I'm going to be honest, I did not see coming. Joel Klatt had both Auburn and Baylor ranked really close to each other. I think one was 21, one was 23, if I remember correctly. And how great would that be for Auburn, for Baylor, for college football? So on week 1, Friday night of week 1 of college football action, you have a ranked matchup between an SEC and a Big 12 team. Like everybody wins in that scenario.
And I think that does get taken into account a little bit. You know, maybe it shouldn't, but you look at these two teams as possibly being top 25 caliber rosters, and they're like, oh man, it's right there on the schedule. Week 1, Friday night, national television. Why don't we just put a couple numbers next to their name? But I think Baylor snuck up on a lot of people because they don't play in the SEC or in the Big Ten, and they didn't get ranked at any point last year. They didn't win 10 games, but what they were going into bowl season was one of the hottest teams in the country, and they bring back a lot of the integral pieces, right? They bring back the quarterback, they bring back both their running backs, their top 3 pass catchers, about more than half of their offensive line, and a couple of key pieces in the middle of the defense. And for a team that was winning games on offense last year, that's a big time boost. And I know from the Auburn side, I've been complaining about it from Texas Tech about how, we just throw them in there because they got a great portal class. Auburn also right there with a great portal class. They feels like, Hugh Freeze after 2 years of Peyton Thorne was like, no, this is actually the guy I really want in here, in Jackson Arnold, and a different situation for him. I know I don't want to get too much into the quarterbacks. I know we're going to talk about that, but I really think this could end up being a like classic intra-conference track meet in week 1.
Oh, you're expecting points week 1.
I'm expecting points, brother. Points.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Auburn's defense is really flying under the radar. I think with what they've brought back, what they've added via the portal, and then the amount of elite freshmen they played. They led the country in freshman snaps last year. A lot of that was on the defensive side of the ball. Those guys coming back, a lot of former 5 stars and high 4 stars. And really what's kind of given Hugh Freeze like the sales pitch to the fans of like, the future is here. We've got it. They're just all 18. We got to let them grow up and develop as players before they can win here. Like, I think that's kind of what Auburn fans, at least that's what I'm expecting to see, is really solid defensive play in Waco week 1.
But it's also week 1, Zach. See, that's the thing, because I've been following. Look, I'm trying to do my homework here. I know you like those DBs, especially at Auburn, but it is week 1, and there is some catching up to get to. And I'm not going to say, oh yeah, Baylor's going to beat them by 4 touchdowns because it's week 1 and Baylor has more guys coming back. But I just think there's a whole offseason with this Jake Spavital offense for Sawyer Robertson to actually be the starter, which he was not going through all last offseason. So that's why I think, and I think there's just quality on both sides. So I think we're going to have a very entertaining week 1 game. And I know it doesn't mean anything, but I do hope there are top 25 rankings for both these teams in week 1. I think that just adds to it.
I think there will be. I think there will be. Maybe not like consensus type stuff, but I do think I don't think top 10. I don't think that'll happen. All right, the quarterback matchup, I think it's fascinating. And I'm also fascinated with how high Sawyer Robertson is ranked throughout. So I want to get your thoughts on that. All that's coming up right here on this crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Baylor. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Cam Stuart, I'll let you answer that. I'll hear your response in like 10 seconds. You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub. There it is. With Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed. They've got it all. You also can stream everything on your Amazon Fire TV. So head over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including the Fire TV Stick 4K, the Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and the Fire TV Cube. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn and Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day. The quarterback storylines for this are fascinating because they're kind of two totally separate ends of this thing. You've got Sawyer Robertson, who, like you said, finished the season strong, and you're seeing him, I mean, pretty much anybody's top 10 quarterback list in college football, I see him on there. Sometimes he's hovering around 10. I've seen him as high as 4. I think he's good. I don't know if he's that good, but I do think he's a really solid college quarterback. But then on the other side, you've got Jackson Arnold, who's looking to kind of get back to where he was in like the realm of public perception where he was a year ago. I mean, everybody at SEC Media Days last year was gassing up Oklahoma and Jackson Arnold, and he has just fallen off a cliff because the situation in Oklahoma was terrible. I mean, Jackson Arnold wants to prove everybody wrong. He and Hugh Freeze are kind of in the same boat, and they've got a prime opportunity to do that. As you said, the eyes of the college football world's going to be on this matchup. So both of these quarterbacks are going to both of these quarterbacks, I think, have a prime opportunity to either prove the narrative right or wrong that's circling them right now.
Yeah, big time. And it goes with kind of the teams as well, right? Like Auburn is trying to get back to winning ways under Hugh Freeze, or for the first time under Hugh Freeze. And this would be a signature week 1 win. Baylor's trying to prove something to the SEC in that crowd. Yeah. But yeah, specifically with the quarterbacks, and like for Jackson Arnold, you hit the nail on the head. Like we heard it with OU fans, but this is the dying days of them being in the Big 12. Like this was their future. Right. And lest we forget, they forced out Dylan Gabriel to have this guy be the starter. Like they basically didn't invite Dylan Gabriel back because they wanted it to be the Jackson Arnold era, and how quickly things turn, and that you're underplaying it almost, and how much of a mess of a situation it is for a young quarterback to be playing there with obviously a defensive minded head coach, no weapons there, no offensive philosophy. Like, like as much as I'd love to just troll Jackson Arnold for, that year at OU, like there's and someone who was high on him in high school, as most people were, like there's another level for Jackson Arnold to get to. But for Sawyer Robertson, he's sneaking up on everybody outside of the Big 12, and even a lot of people inside the Big 12, aka the voters for the all Big 12 team who voted Sam Leavitt to be in there as the conference champion quarterback. But Sawyer Robertson beating him in basically every major statistical category. He comes back with the best QBR of any returning quarterback in the country. He's got technically, by the analytics, the second best deep ball of any quarterback in the country. And he's only behind Drew Aller in that category. And the more I look at the stats here, the more I think Sawyer Robertson might be a better quarterback than Drew Aller, a guy who everybody is drooling over going into the 2025 season. Now, this is a lot of things need to go right for him to get that kind of recognition, but he's a deadly accurate passer. He had one game where he was a little all over the place and threw a couple of picks against a good Houston defense, not a good Houston team, but a good Houston defense. And we got to that point in the middle of the season, Zach, where it was like every week it was like pencil him in 3 touchdowns, and he could run a little bit too, and that's just something we haven't had at Baylor for a while, where it's just like pencil in good quarterback performance this week.
Jarrett
is
Stidham
going to give you a chance. Jarrett Stidham was the last one, baby. Baylor legend Jarrett Stidham.
Won an SEC West, baby.
He did that, man. He did do that.
Let's go. I just, so you buy it. Like if I wish I remember whose list it was, because I remember just like being shocked by it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think Robertson's a top 5 quarterback in college football?
I think at his best, he absolutely is. Yeah.
And week in, week out, do you think he's a top 5 quarterback in college football?
I think so, because I see him the most. And part of that is predicated on a little bit of growth in this system as well. So I guess there is still some stuff there, but I think you take that in with Arch Manning as well. You take that in with Lenore Sellers and DJ Lagway. He doesn't have the pure athleticism of those guys, but yes, I do think he is a top 5 quarterback in college football, probably closer to 5 than 1, Zach, to cover up my tracks a little bit. But yes, I
Totally
do.
fine.
And you say I'm buying it. I've been selling it, Zach. I have been pushing this narrative. You look up Sawyer Robertson on
You're
Google.
the one creating the product, not selling
Yes,
it.
man.
Yeah.
You're going to get a bunch of Locked On Baylor stuff of why isn't Sawyer Robertson this or that or this? Because I'm conducting the hype train.
Well, I had no idea. Clearly, the product is attractive. It's moving. I'm seeing it everywhere. What do you think about Baylor's ability to protect him? Tell me about the offensive line, because I do think Auburn's ability to rush the passer next year, it got better over the course of the season last year. Keldrick Falk is going to be a first-round draft pick. I mean, I've seen him mocked in the top 10. What are you expecting that part of this matchup to look like?
Yeah, this is a bit of an old analogy since everyone just plays on turf now, but like they didn't need to wash Sawyer's uniform the last half of the season.
Okay.
It took some time to figure out the right five in there. But once that winning streak started was really when the offensive line turned around, and you returned most of that. But I think once again, for the second spring in a row, Baylor's kind of figuring out what everybody's roles are on the offensive line. Like, oh, we like this guy, Colton Thomason, former 4-star guy, transfer from A&M, or Joe Crocker from Louisville. But who's going to fit where?
Joe Crocker is an incredible offensive line name.
Thank you. I will tell him that you said that.
Is that the best offensive line name in this matchup, you think?
Probably.
Okay.
Because I don't know any of Auburn's offensive linemen's names, so I'm gonna roll with the Baylor ones.
I think Xavion Miller's up there.
It's not bad.
Xavier Chaplin.
Colton Siriaki is a fan favorite for Baylor.
That's a hockey player name.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's not an offensive lineman.
Right. Great name. Don't know if I think offensive lineman. Yeah.
No Parker Titsworth in this matchup, unfortunately, the former Ohio offensive lineman. But yeah, I think it's still a question mark, not a huge question mark for Baylor. Which is funny. You talk about the improvement on the defensive line, the pass rush specifically for Auburn, because that's where Baylor really needs to improve, maybe more than any position group on the team. But yeah, the second half of last year when they started winning, and they're
Baylor
going
pass
fast.
Rush, Baylor's defensive line is where they need to improve the most.
Yes, yeah, corners as well, which I don't want.
That could be a problem.
To hear that, yeah, I don't want Jackson Arnold to hear that.
That could be a problem. It's Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton.
I've heard of them.
Simmons, Horatio Fields. I think Auburn may have. I think they have a top 3 receiver room in the SEC, which means you're probably top 5, top 6 in the country. Are they gonna be able to get them the ball? Like, that's on Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze at that point. But the dudes are there.
Yeah, and Baylor's brought in some guys in the portal. I'm not going to sit here and say they've improved themselves to being the best defensive backfield in the Big 12. But yeah, they got exposed there last year. Garrett Nussmeier picked them apart in the Texas Bowl. And Josh Hoover did it at TCU. So a Big 12 example as well. That is a big area of improvement. But I think, as you well know, being the football guy that you are, if Baylor can have an elite pass rush, which they haven't had in 5 years, that takes a lot of pressure, no pun intended, a lot of pressure off your defensive backfield. And they couldn't do that. I mean, they couldn't get a finger on a quarterback not named Shedeur Sanders. They had, I think, 24 sacks last year, and more than a third of them were in that Colorado game with the worst offensive line in America 2 years running. So that's not saying
Cleveland Brown legend, Shedeur Sanders.
Big time Browns legend, man. Probably the best quarterback ever taken after the 5th round of the NFL draft.
Wow, we've mentioned multiple Cleveland Brown quarterbacks today because they drafted both him and Dylan Gabriel in the same draft.
They did. And by the way, Sawyer Robertson in the Big 12 rankings for a lot of those categories last year, even though he missed the first 2 games, is only behind Shedeur Sanders. He was only behind Shedeur in touchdown passes with 110 less pass attempts than Shedeur had. There's a couple other ones too. Like I'll give out one more comp because everyone, I know the Big 12 isn't the most followed league in the world, but a lot of people are high on Sam Leavitt going into this year because he played in the college football playoff last year.
Yeah.
Sawyer Robertson is at least the same quarterback as Sam Leavitt, if not better.
I would think he's better than Sam Leavitt.
I think he is. I'm not saying Sam Leavitt sucks, but I think they're neck and neck, and it's a nose finish to Sawyer Robertson. Again,
I don't think it's as close as you're describing. I think he's considerably better.
Because he didn't look great against UT, Sam Leavitt. Is that why?
Well, I just think the whole I know I took a stab at the Big 12 a second ago, but the Big 12 is better than the ACC.
Yes, it is better than the ACC. I'll give it that.
Which low bar. I think we agree there.
I can read better than your average third grader.
Sure.
Low bar.
But still a step in the right direction.
Absolutely.
For sure. Biggest concerns for this matchup. We kind of touched on that already. But let's jump more into that in a second. Right here on this crossover edition of Locked on Auburn and Locked on Baylor. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Cam, you ever check your account? You're like, where'd all my money go? All the time. It stinks.
All the time. Yes.
Well, you don't have to ask that question anymore with Monarch Money. Because when Monarch Money is your personal CFO, gives you full visibility and control over your finances. This is my favorite trick question, Cam, that I love to ask other people.
Mm-hmm.
Is Monarch Money just a budgeting app?
Surely it's just a budgeting app.
It's not. It's not. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. You don't need multiple apps. You could just have Monarch Money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. I'll start this off, Cam, if you don't mind.
Please.
Because you may have already touched on Baylor's, but mine is that the offense just doesn't click for Auburn. I mean, there's so many questions about, you bring in Hugh Freeze, who's this great recruiter, which he's done that part exceptionally well. The offense hasn't really come yet. And statistically, the offense was fine last year, but they couldn't score points. And so within the 20-yard line, it's all right, we get to the red zone, we're going to do something silly. And sometimes it was execution. Sometimes it was play calling. Sometimes it was just unluckiness, but just the or missed field goals. I mean, there were so many things. Auburn was close so many times, but you don't want to hear that from your head coach, but he's right. Auburn was so close. A traumatic pick six against Oklahoma. If you make a field goal and hold on to the lead against Missouri, I mean, Auburn has found so many different ways to lose games. And a lot of that had to do with the offense just being so close, but then just ripping your heart out. The defense did its part. And I guess the biggest fear is, all these narratives of, okay, well, Auburn and Hugh Freeze, they've got the dudes, they've got the receivers, they've got the O-line. He went out and got his quarterback. Surely that's all you need. My biggest concern is, what if that doesn't work? Then what do we do?
That kind of goes into mine as well, because I'm thinking that defensive backfield that we talked about, you bring in a terrific offensive mind, right, in Hugh Freeze. And as much as I still love Dave Aranda's defensive mind, it hadn't really shown on the field the last two seasons. He hasn't had one of those classic Dave Aranda game plans like he had back in 2021, 2022. We haven't seen a lot of that. And so I'm kind of hoping that it does take a second, that Jackson Arnold is seeing, oh, that guy's too open. He's never that open in practice. I'm just going to miss this throw. It's just a lot of moving parts. We still don't really know what that depth chart looks like at the cornerback position, but they did get Gary Patterson's right-hand man, Paul Gonzalez, to be the new defensive backs coach. He was at TCU forever and coached a lot of really good defenses at TCU. He made the flip to Baylor, and I think that's a big get for Dave Aranda and his staff. But yeah, for me, in a game one, in a passing kind of offense with a guy who I do think is going to take it up a notch in Jackson Arnold, it's about that defensive backfield. That's my biggest concern. And it's one of those where you've got such a full schedule that first month of good teams, 2 college football playoff teams and Auburn, that you don't have a lot of time to get adjusted to that. And that just puts more pressure on the offense, which we saw early in the season last year when Baylor started 2-4. You needed your offense to be perfect every drive. Now, granted, after that, they were pretty much perfect every drive up until the bowl game. But it's that defensive backfield that gets to me. It's just some guys with promise, but haven't had a lot of snaps under their belt that are going to be making the transition to probably being starters right now. Week 1, no preseason games. Week 1, Auburn Tigers. There you go.
Can I give you just a ridiculous fan theory that I just came up with? Can we put our tinfoil hats on for a second? Do you mind?
Please do.
Let's put our metaphorical tinfoil hats on, please. Okay. All right. You said Baylor's defense hasn't been good since when? You said the year.
I mean, realistically, 2021. Yeah, 22. They're okay.
You said 2022 just now.
Yep.
What happened? Oh, Auburn hired away Ron Roberts.
That's it, man.
So now people are asking, did Hugh Freeze and Auburn destroy Baylor's defensive culture?
Is Dave Aranda a Ron Roberts
coming up? They're like, let's make sure Baylor doesn't have a defense in a few years when we play them.
And can I piggyback off that? Can I put even more tinfoil on?
Yeah, let's put another layer on, my guy.
Because maybe they're also thinking, you know what? We've got him back-to-back years. We've got him on the plains next time.
Sure.
Sawyer Robertson's going to be out of eligibility.
Uh-oh.
Why don't we give them a quarterback? Why don't we just give one to them? Well, we don't believe in. We don't think he's going to be our starter. We got this.
Walker, go to Baylor real quick.
Walker, how about you do us a little song? How about you help out Auburn football, baby? Do you think that? I liked Walker. Had him on the show. I like him a lot. I don't think he'd sabotage.
Walker White's the only football player that's been on both of our shows.
Probably.
I mean,
did you play a little ball back in your day? Does that count?
Played high school ball.
That counts.
Okay.
I didn't, so that counts.
Oh, okay. You're so me and Walker is the answer to that trivia question.
That's it, baby. That's the two. We haven't had Jarrett Stidham on yet. That's the other quarterback. That's
Jarrett Stidham on. We both have to have him on. It's a crossover with Jarrett Stidham. Can we make that deal right now?
I think that would probably be the way we have to. I don't know if like a standalone Jarrett Stidham interview on a Locked On Baylor show works.
Do you think it would be weird that I have a Jarrett Stidham jersey there and he hopped on? I'm like, do you remember signing this? I bought it this way, but do you remember this?
Would it be weirder if I wore the knockoff from China Baylor #3 Jarrett Stidham jersey that my dad wore to Patriots training camp to try to get his attention, or wearing a potentially game used gunmetal gray #3 Baylor jersey?
I think you go with the Baylor because you're the Baylor host.
The one I have, then, not my dad's one. Okay,
I think so.
Okay. That's cool.
I think so.
I would love to ask him about the whole kind of Baylor fiasco. I mean, this is getting way off topic, but
sure.
To me, that's done. Like a Red Sox fan talking Roger Clemens. So I would love to talk through that with him.
Yeah. Do you think he would love to talk through it?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
And I don't know how many people would watch it, to be fair, but
I think more Auburn people would probably. Auburn people love Stidham.
Yeah, and I could use a little Auburn bump. That'd be nice.
Yeah, Auburn people, go watch Locked On Baylor, please. For real, how can people check out everything you've got going on, Cam?
Yeah, just like Locked On Auburn, we're there every day on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Specifically, listen to us on the podcast forum. That's fantastic, man. But you can find me at Real Cam Stuart on Twitter and Locked On Baylor on Twitter. I mean, we have a lot of general college football takes on there, and sometimes they're funny. So I would recommend checking that out.
Sometimes they're misses, and those are worth listening to as well.
Yeah, sometimes. Oh, and also, if you got NHL fans, Locked On NHL Game Night, which I'm also part on the Great Locked On Podcast Network. So just a plug, it's a new show, so not a lot of people might know it. And I know Alabama is just a hub for NHL fans.
Alabama people love hockey.
Like they're way into this Leafs run right now, and the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, forget about it. So
yeah, gotcha.
You can find me there too.
Yeah, sure. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been a crossover edition of Locked On Auburn and Locked On Baylor. Jarrett Stidham forever. I mean, come on.